Hello, this is WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley, and you are listening to the WNS Podcast. Yeah!
You're listening to the official Wrestling News Source Podcast. For all of your information, go to WrestlingNewsSource.com or find us on Facebook by searching WrestlingNewsSource.com or WNS Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Stitcher, and iTunes by searching Wrestling News Source Podcast or WNS Podcast. Now, being broadcast in over 30 different countries, here are your hosts, Daniel Herron, Tyler Abear, and Doug.
That's right. What's up, everyone? I am Daniel Herron.
I'm Tyler Abear.
I'm Doug.
And we welcome you to episode 128 of the official podcast for WrestlingNewsSource.com. For all of your information, go to WrestlingNewsSource.com. Check us out on Facebook, WrestlingNewsSource.com. You can find us on Facebook, WNS Podcast, on YouTube, WNS Video, and on iTunes, Wrestling News Source Podcast.
And if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at WNS Podcast for the main site, WN Source.
We're also on Stitcher, so go check that out.
At Wrestling News Source. So welcome to the show, everyone. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, Payback, the exploding awesomeness that was Raw. There's all kinds of great stuff. First, how you guys doing?
Doing good, eating my french fries.
French fries, enjoying your championship title.
I am the podcast champion.
No, I am the podcast champion.
No, I'm the podcast champion.
Doug, are you the podcast champion?
No.
No? Okay, so it's down between Tyler and myself. And I can assure you that I am the podcast champion.
Nope.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Yay! So welcome to the show. Got a lot to talk about, kicking things off.
No, you're not kicking off. Nope. No, you're not.
Sheamus kicks off with the kickoff at Payback.
Totally went over Doomsday.
Oh yes, that's right. You guys got to go. Yeah, I wasn't unfortunate, wasn't able to go. So, but
apparently watching a movie.
You gentlemen did get to go and enjoy Doomsday Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
See our good buddy Tex Lone Star.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah.
And you missed out.
I did. Doug, did you enjoy yourself at Doomsday?
Yeah, of course. It's always a good time.
Awesome.
Good people. Original son of a bitch is gone. He's retired.
So sad. He's punched out his last Walmart greeter. So, best of luck to you on that one. But yeah, so good times over the weekend. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Cool.
Got back at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Sushan's friends kind of suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if Sushan's friends are listening, you suck.
How lovely. What a nice thing to say. So, but we also did get to see Payback this Sunday. We got to see Sheamus kicking things off with the kickoff, going up against Damien Sandow. I didn't get to catch this matchup, but a lot of people were saying it was a pretty good show.
Doug called half of it.
Did you, Doug?
Yep.
Okay.
And the app crashed.
As usual. But Sheamus ended up getting the victory over Damien Sandow. But the first match in the pay-per-view itself saw Curtis Axel, The Miz, and Wade Barrett in a triple threat match to determine the Intercontinental Champion. A lot of good back and forth action on this one. I like the ending with the way it was done. But the winner ended up being Curtis Axel, so he became the new Intercontinental Champion. What did you guys think about this matchup?
The match was okay, I guess, and I like the finish too.
Yeah. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I like the ending too, and we all had that feeling that we knew that Curtis was gonna.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them going with the story of him winning the belt on Father's Day, and them playing up that whole angle, but like they kind of like made a point to say they changed his name. First he had a different name and he wasn't going to take his father's name because he wanted to be his own man. And then they changed his name a second time, still referencing the fact that they were doing it because they wanted to be his own man. Mm-hmm. But then, you got to
remembering his past,
right? So you got to pick one. Like, I'm fine with them acknowledging, but pick away and go with it.
Yeah,
it's like acknowledge that he's his kid or stay away from it. I mean, I don't know.
It's just I don't know what they're thinking, but yeah, Curtis Axel, your new Intercontinental Champion. Next up, we got to see AJ going up against Caitlyn. pretty solid work from these two. I enjoyed the matchup.
Was this really the second match?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay.
Wait.
I think so. You're just going based off the list, aren't you?
I was looking.
The list might not.
I was looking at
the list might not be completely accurate, but I do believe this was the second matchup.
Okay.
But yeah, so good work from AJ and Caitlin. They did a good job of working. It wasn't a short match. They had some bumps. They had some good back and forth action. I didn't like the Caitlin teasing AJ whenever she had her clearly won. She had the match won and she chose not to. But
it looked like something completely different.
Yeah,
looked like she was gonna kiss her or something.
Yeah.
Tyler looks really excited at thinking about it. His eyes were like, lit up.
Yes, yeah, do it.
But it was not to be. But
damn it.
But yeah, so but AJ ends up getting the victory over Caitlin, laughing in her face.
Very emotional, and then she was crying.
Yeah.
Caitlin, then Layla went out there and
hugged
her,
and then Tyler was like, kiss, but they didn't. So, but yeah, AJ, your new Divas champion. Next up, we got to see Dean Ambrose going up against Kane. I don't know how I felt about this matchup. I thought it was all right. I remember being distracted quite a bit from it, but Dean Ambrose ends up getting the victory via countout. So, what are your thoughts about that?
It's fine, I guess. I mean, I didn't love the match, but it was passable.
Yeah. If you like it, say you liked it.
Well, I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. Like, I thought it was all right, but I didn't think it was like super great. I felt like they've had better matches.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but so Dean Ambrose ends up getting the victory.
Yeah. All right. I'm the champ. Always gonna wear this shit.
Oh god. What have you done, Doug? Well, next up, we got to see Alberto Del Rio going up against Dolph Ziggler for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Doug missed this one, most of it.
This was.
What do you think? I'm not like capable of saying that for myself.
Were you?
See, he gets the gold, and now he thinks it.
Like Doug did this,
Yeah.
and Daniel did that. I know I didn't see the fucking match. What are you talking about? I got an important phone call that I had to take. I stepped outside. It ended up taking up most of the match. I didn't see most of the match, but the match went like how everyone told me it went. I like the story. I like the idea of a double turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think like Ziggler going babyface plays to his strengths. I think Del Rio going heel plays to his strengths. I thought it was like a pretty smart way of doing it, focusing on the head. I didn't see it again, but
I love that head kick.
Yeah.
Head kick.
Del Rio focusing on head
your
kicks,
head.
pretty much. Just making a target out of Ziggler's head, and
Which okay, this is before he turned whatever. Del Rio. The crowd didn't like him off the bat.
well, yeah, they're in Chicago, where they tend to cheer for the heels. So obviously Ziggler got a huge pop, Del Rio not so much. But then they started working, just Del Rio and his vicious kicks, and the ref was trying to check on Ziggler, and he would push the ref aside, saying, "Oh, he's fine. Don't worry about it. This is for the championship. This is what matters." And just brutal kicks from Del Rio, and it's just all kinds of nastiness. But Del Rio ends up getting the victory, becoming the new World Heavyweight Champion. Not to the likings of the Chicago crowd, giving him tons of boos and not liking it one bit. Then they send him out a little bit later on, shortly after, and tried to have him
immediately after.
Yeah, and trying to have him, say, "Hey, come on, guys, I'm your new champion. I won this for you." And fans weren't having it, but
all boos.
Yeah, so it was sort of, I don't know. Yeah,
I think it was a smart decision. The fans want to cheer Ziggler.
Yeah.
turn them face.
They've been waiting for it for a while. But so Alberto Del Rio, you knew a world heavyweight champion. Next up, we got to see the return of CM Punk going up against Chris Jericho.
He did show up.
He did. A lot of people thought that he wasn't going to be there, and then a lot of people didn't know what to think. But CM Punk came back and kicked things off against Chris Jericho. I thought, they got off to kind of a slow start. A lot of people were praising this matchup, but I don't know. I felt like, they were definitely trying to show ring rust on the side of CM Punk. But what were y'all's thoughts?
There were debates among the group of people we were watching it with, if it was him not giving a fuck and not wanting to be there, if he was showing rust legitimately, if he was showing rust as part of the story. There was some debates. At first I was leaning, this is storytelling. He's coming back. He left under awkward circumstances. He came back showing some rust. He didn't come back on his own. Challenge was accepted on his behalf, so he's looking a little rusty. I thought it was on purpose. Some other things were pointed out that made me maybe see how someone could say that maybe he just didn't want to come back, or maybe he wasn't ready to come back and he just didn't give a fuck and he was just... I don't know. A lot of people really like this match. I thought it was sloppy.
Yeah.
If it was storytelling that he should have been, then they had dropped it really quickly the next night. So I don't know if that was intentional storytelling or not. I thought it was sloppy. I didn't think it was amazing or awesome or all the other stuff that was getting thrown about it. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. I felt like, throughout the match, there were, or not the match, but throughout the night, there were quite a few miscommunications and stuff like that. But I didn't see, I guess, what everyone else was seeing. Everyone was claiming, "Oh, this match is so great! It's so amazing! It's 5 stars!" And I wasn't seeing it. I don't know. I felt like, like how we expected the WrestleMania match to be so great, and it completely under-delivered. I felt like this one under-delivered as well. I liked the finish with them giving the 2 GTS, but I don't know. I don't see what everyone else saw.
Well, I just think that people... I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to...
I felt like they got the crowd behind them just because this is like, was it the near falls or, they're getting closer. Like, oh, man, people got pumped up for that. And just like kick out after kick out,
Yeah. And, obviously the crowd's going to be behind Punk. That's a given.
Well,
so
they weren't booing Jericho that much.
Yeah. But, I mean, you could tell they were more solidly behind Punk. So...
These are 2 guys who are known to be good in-ring guys. These are 2 guys who are known to be like internet darlings. So I feel like just because these 2 guys get a match, people are just going to be like, "Oh, that was amazing," without taking into account what actually happens in the match. Just because of who they are, I think they get a pass from some people. I didn't think it was okay. I thought it was sloppy in a lot of spots. And now, if that wasn't, I guess it's for debate. How much of that was intentional and how much wasn't? I don't know. I kind of started off thinking it was intentional because it was certainly a weird mood.
Yeah.
Because it was lower on the card.
Mm-hmm.
He did have he came out to a lot of fanfare, but it just felt weird. I don't know. I didn't think it was all that. I don't understand how anyone could.
Yeah, but maybe we just need to go back and rewatch it, or maybe everyone else needs to. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it was oh my God, this is such a great match like everyone else. But nonetheless, CM Punk does get the victory over Chris Jericho, and definitely let us know what you think, what you thought about the matchup as well. That takes us into the tag team match for the tag team championship between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. I felt like the crowd kind of died out a little bit from this one, just because they were so amped over CM Punk. But still a pretty good match, a pretty good showing. They're continuing the Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, miscommunications that end up costing them the matchup, and them accidentally bumping into one another or something like that, and it ended up costing them this time. And Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were victorious.
This was solid stuff, but it was definitely, for sure, in my opinion, the worst match that's been involving Bryan and the Shield. I know a lot of times they have Kane, and Orton's kind of a recent addition, but at least for matches involving Bryan and the Shield, this is probably the weakest of. Even the Raw matches, I think, delivered a lot more than this. I don't know. It was solid. It was not bad. I don't want anyone to get the impression that I'm shitting on the match. It was just far from the best stuff they've shown.
You know what I noticed? That it seemed like to me that when Bryan got in there, the crowd was hot, and Orton was like, meh.
Yeah. So, but Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins end up getting the victory, retaining over Bryan and Orton. And that takes us into the final matchup, which saw John Cena going up against Ryback in a 3 stages of hell match. And I don't know. I didn't like this one bit. I mean, yeah, everyone pretty much knew who was going to win it regardless.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The first match was the lumberjack match, and they did the traditional bad guy gets thrown out, nothing happens, he gets back in. Good guy gets thrown out, he gets beat up, throw back in. And then,
it depends on what side you turn to.
Right.
One time when Ryback got thrown out into the bad guy section, then he did something to one of the bad guys, and they all jumped him.
Yeah, well,
It's like, fuck you, bitch! I'm Antonio Cesaro.
Yeah, and so that caused everyone to get in on it. And,
you're being uppercut your head off your body.
And John Cena jumping off the top rope onto the sea of men, causing a tidal wave of destruction.
Fuck you, bitch! I'm Cesaro. I don't flinch for nobody.
So, but yeah. So I was surprised to see Ryback get the victory in the lumberjack match. I was expecting it to be the tables match, just because you rarely do it because
Ryback rules.
Ryback rules. I get
that match.
I guess so. So Ryback ends up getting the victory, which takes us into the second matchup, the tables matchup. The tables matchup. The main problem I had with this was just that Cena I don't know, he just can't really sell an injury that much. He just pops right back up and.
Dude, throughout this whole match, the group that we were in were focusing on little parts of this match. The first part was hey, who's in the lumberjack? And
the Justin Gabriel. Oh, that's Ted DiBiase.
Second one was dude, those tables can break easily, or just that's how many tables they're gonna go through before one's gonna go through them.
Yeah, I like the fact that they were breaking the tables like that, using the stairs to throw it at them, and they would just smash through the tables. But
I usually don't ever think anybody's funny, but I have to give it up to former senior official Dave Brown for bringing the funny on the Ryback using the RVD tight jokes after they announced the RVD was coming back about how he's all right, no yin yangs, no dragons, no pot references.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good stuff. But Cena ends up getting the victory for the tables match, which takes us to the third stage of hell, the ambulance match. And
which we just focused on how easily they picked apart the ambulance.
Where the hell did they build that thing? Because I would not feel safe riding around in that kind of ambulance in Chicago. The rules state that you have to throw your opponent into the back of the ambulance and shut the doors and the ambulance drive away.
That to me crutches.
Yeah, a crutch fell out. Oh, I can't use that one. Another crutch falls out. Oh, I can't use that one. I'm gonna reach into the far back and pull this one out. Where'd they get so many crutches?
Man, I don't think that the vehicle was that weak. I just think that those two guys were pretty strong.
They're just so strong that the ambulance can't contain it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if they one of them just picks up the ambulance or just picks up one side with one hand? Now you know that thing's fake.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. It just fell apart too easily, and one window's rolled down and the other one's not, and Ryback almost punched through the window.
They should have threw that door into the audience.
Yeah, but just the ending was just too cartoony. Throwing Ryback through the ambulance roof. I mean, I don't
Wish
buy
they didn't
it.
show it.
They didn't show it originally.
Well,
they did show it.
Angle.
They did show a higher angle with him going through, and it just right in half like a trap door. I mean, that was bad. But what do you think, Doug?
I mean, I had some problems here and there, especially the the crutches thing, like taking out 100 crutches to use the one in the back, some stuff like that. I had less of a problem with the sturdiness of the ambulance itself. I think you guys were probably a little bit harder on this match than I was. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I knew the outcome, and I still didn't like it. So,
You didn't know the outcome.
Well, I mean, like the attitude adjusting him through the top is kind of like a bookend with him putting him through the stage in their first match. So it's kind of like a bookend to the.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a little far-fetched for me, but so that's pretty much how they closed it out. Like Doug mentioned, they did show a video package stating that Rob Van Dam will be returning to the WWE at Money in the Bank, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But kicking things off, going on into Raw, Alberto Del Rio comes out claiming he wasn't given the respect that he deserves. He's been fighting for all of us for the past 5 months or so, but at Payback, he did it for himself, and it won him the championship. So fans, booing him and not having any of that. And then CM Punk comes out and challenges into a match, basically saying, "Well, you think you're the best in the world? Well, you're looking at the best in the world." So, challenges thrown out.
They started with not a promo or a little backstage segment. I don't know if it was after the pay-per-view or maybe for Raw. I don't know, but teasing maybe a little dissension between Punk and Heyman.
Yes, during it was after Payback when Punk was talking to Paul Heyman, and then they kind of redid it for Raw, where Heyman sort of got involved with the promo, and Punk is like, "Hey man, I can speak for myself. It's okay." But then backstage later on in that night for Raw, Punk says he doesn't want to be Heyman's client anymore, saying he'll always be a Paul Heyman guy.
Well, he just said it's like, I don't see myself as like a client. You're my friend.
Yeah.
It's like Brock Lesnar needs your help. Curtis Axel needs your help. I don't.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Doug?
I thought it was really strong mic work from Del Rio. Great way to justify the turn, putting it on the fans because they can't understand his logic. And it was right. Like, he got booed for winning the title in a similar fashion that they cheered Ziggler for winning the title.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant mic work. I think whoever told him to use that angle, or if he came up with himself, that was brilliant. Very good job. It was nice to see Punk back. I guess I kind of missed him. Although I think it's good that he took some time off.
Yeah.
The stuff with Heyman feels kind of like abruptly, like they're just like, okay, now we're
all of a sudden.
Yeah, it just feels like real, like
a little too soon.
Yeah, like they could have teased it a little more or let him run. I guess they wanted to go ahead and set the wheels in motion, which is fine. I thought it was really heavy foreshadowing whenever he said that he didn't need his help. He wasn't Lesnar or Axel, and I mean, that was I kind of saw. That's kind of what I expected to happen from there forward.
And overall, this entire Raw, I felt like they got it. Like, this was their gym for the year. I don't know, but like, it felt like there were so many things clicking. They were doing a lot of things right in this Raw. Del Rio's mic work, like Doug mentioned, was definitely one of them.
Yeah, that's good stuff on this Raw.
Yeah,
it's enjoyable.
So, but next up, we got to see Wade Barrett, who was expecting to challenge Curtis Axel for the rematch for his IC championship, but instead, Vicky Guerrero says, "Oh, I've got a surprise for you: the returning Christian." So, very nice to see him back. Got a huge ovation from the crowd, and he ended up facing Wade Barrett and defeating Wade Barrett. So, nice to see Christian back. I'm curious to see where he's going to end up, if he's going to go into the main event picture, if he's going to stay at mid-card or tag team or what. But just very good to see him. But next up, we got to see the Rhodes Scholars going up against Sheamus in a 2-on-1 handicap match. And there were some people talking about, they're trying to build Sheamus up to overcome the odds. They were talking about it on commentary. Oh, it's just the numbers. It's the numbers game. He can't overcome it. So it kind of makes you think, oh, well, Sheamus is going to somehow pull it off. Not to be. Damian Sandow wins with the roll up after a distraction by Cody Rhodes. So what did you guys think about that?
I'm pretty uninterested in this, and I'm not sure what this accomplishes.
I guess it's just furthering the Damian Sandow and Sheamus feud for the time being. I'm not sure. But next up, we did get to see Randy Orton going up against Daniel Bryan, and the fans got to pick the stipulation. They chose no disqualification. I actually didn't get to catch this match. I was on my way home from work. So what do you guys have to say about it?
This was a very good match. I like the story they told, which I guess later we find out wasn't really much of a story. But yeah, just strong stuff from Bryan. I mean, Orton has the things that Orton does that pisses me off. Like, he never puts the draping DDT in a spot that makes any kind of sense, and things like that we've said ad nauseum. But for the most part, it was a strong match with Bryan, showing a lot of fire. He did go out for the tope, and looked like he hurt himself on the way out. Bryan's like a pretty good seller, so we're not sure. I thought it was part of the match. I thought that was the planned finish of the match. The doctors kept checking on him, and it was said, that the doctors stopped the match, so that which Bryan was pretty pissed about. But it was a good match, and I thought that was the plan all along, which I didn't really have a problem with. They weren't ready to put him over Orton clean. That's their way of getting him, furthering the feud without, where Bryan is going to end up where he's eventually going to go over Orton clean, is what I thought was going to happen, but they weren't ready to do it. They're just furthering the feud. But apparently the original plan was for him to go over Orton clean there. He suffered a stinger on the dive to the outside. They switched the finish and had the ref stop the match, which supposedly Bryan was very pissed off about. And sources, people are saying that him and Triple H got in a big yelling match backstage about it.
So they just turned it into
instant angle. They're just like, oh, he was just upset because I made the executive decision.
Yeah, but Bryan's saying he's been doing this a long time in a lot of different places, and he knows when he's too hurt to finish a match, and he said he could have finished the match. And if we're thinking about this logically, then yes, I'm glad they're taking everyone's injuries way more seriously now. You got guys out with concussions. They seem to be really focused on the guy's health, which I think is a positive thing. But at the very same time, there's not something. I can't imagine too many things that put a bigger smile on my face than Bryan yelling at Triple H in the back.
That was awesome. They filmed that. What was it like? He apologized. I apologized to him. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but I like the fact that they were giving us updates throughout Raw. Normally they'll be like, "Oh, we'll keep you updated as we get more information," and then you never hear from it again. I like the fact that they kept. They were giving us updates, and they said, "Oh, okay, the doctors have determined it's not nerve damage. They called it a stinger. He's going to be okay." I like that. It's just one of those small little touches that they did that I enjoyed. But next up, we got to see AJ come out as the new Divas champion, cut a promo, challenging any and all divas in the background, in the backstage area to come out. Stephanie McMahon actually shows up and says, "Listen, they're all ready to come out, but I asked to speak my mind first." Basically saying, you want to give me the crazy eyes look. You're looking at a McMahon, and we pretty much invented crazy.
It felt like she was just pretty much telling her to grow up.
Yeah, a little bit, and
just make sure that that she's telling all the divas pretty much, I'm the one with the power. Don't.
Yeah, and it was good to see. I like that they're putting focus on the divas now a little bit.
In which I'll go into this, that it's like it was McMahon or Triple H, each of them trying to insert their dominance throughout the whole night.
Yeah, throwing their weight around.
Look, it's great that the divas are getting a storyline. They had a strong match at the pay-per-view. They told a nice story. I'm all for that, but this didn't work at all for me. Stephanie pretty much just Triple H to both the girls.
Yeah.
She went out there and said, hey, she pretty much buried AJ and she pretty much buried Caitlyn on the way back. And it was all about her and how powerful she was.
Female Triple H?
And the attention that she was. So either she got it from Triple H.
Take it all away.
Or Triple H gets it from her.
From the best.
Or he learned from the best. Who knows? You know, but yeah,
who's really wearing the pants in this situation?
She pretty much just, it's great that they're getting a story, but Stephanie just went out and buried both of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all the McMahon, like Vince and Trips and Stephanie stuff is pretty weird and bogus and lame, and that's not what people want to see. That's not what people care to see. They want to see all the other stuff. Not sure why it's happening.
Just all kind of craziness, but yeah. Next up, we got to see Kane going up against Dean Ambrose in a rematch. This one ended in a disqualification.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, very quickly. And, you know, Triple H told Vicky Guerrero, you know, make an example of the Shield. Take care of it. Stand up to him or whatever. But she ended up not because Vince McMahon came up and praised them. So who knows? Who knows what they're doing?
Which I really didn't like, and I think is really out of character for the Shield to accept his praise. I think it was fine for Vince to try to praise them, but I would have liked them to have rejected it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, they've come down on the McMahons when they were in the ring. I guess they let them leave that one time or whatever, but it doesn't go with their gimmick to be accepting of his like praise, in my opinion.
Believe in the Shield and McMahon. So, anyways, next up we got to see Zeb Coulter come out and basically say that he's found someone who is not an American, but is more American than us, and that being Antonio Cesaro. So, Antonio Cesaro now joining up with Zeb Coulter, saying "We the People," going up against William Regal in this match. You know, for what it was, I enjoyed it. It was kind of a short match. Would have loved to see more. But Antonio Cesaro ends up getting the victory.
I think that's going to work. Think that's going to be a good thing, him with Zeb?
I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think they're going to eventually join Swagger and Cesaro as a team.
Who knows? What about you, Doug?
Well, I don't have a problem with him joining forces with Coulter. I mean, people are going to say that seems maybe... what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just doesn't seem to add up with like whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know. I think it could work. I mean, like look, Slaughter switched and went with the whole like IRN thing, and that's a really iconic angle. Mm-hmm. So I think they could make this work if they wanted to. And I mean, do you even need to ask me? Cesaro versus Regal. Yeah, of course, my panties were wet. Yeah, I mean, it's like. It was a good match. I mean, yeah, okay. It only went a few minutes, and it probably needed to go a little.
But that's all it takes for Doug.
A few more minutes for it to be noteworthy. But yeah, it's two of my favorite guys. So fuck yeah, I was into it. Or you don't fucking need to ask.
He had to go change afterwards.
Yeah, and so moving on from one guy that or two guys, I guess, that makes Doug cream his panties to another one. Well, before that, John Cena came out and announced that, he's still the champion. Whoever wins at Money in the Bank, don't think you're going to get the drop on him because he will always be ready. Always. And the champ is here. Mark Henry comes out. This is the other guy for Doug. Mark Henry coming out.
Throughout the night, they were saying that he's going to retire.
Yeah, he had been posting
talking to people.
Cryptic tweets and all kinds of stuff.
Well, they showed him also talking to people backstage.
Yeah, it looked like a
suit on.
Few of the guys were
hugging
emotional.
It out with PTP.
Yeah, getting emotional. Comes out and delivers just this heartbreaking, heartfelt retirement speech. Daddy's coming home to my daughter. It's just. I think everyone bit into it.
Goes, my wife, it was not May Young.
Not Mae Young. The fans chanting, "Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Mark." Just all kinds of stuff. Completely bit into it, getting emotional. All for it to be a facade, just to attack John Cena, saying he's got plenty left in the tank because that's what he does. Just great stuff.
I bit. Mm-hmm. Like I was like, oh man. I was like, well, this will go back to his family and spend time with them. Maybe go back to open a wrestling school in Silsbee.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was. It was he played it perfectly, like so well that I knew he wasn't retiring, but he made me believe he was in his promo anyway.
Mm-hmm. I also cried.
Well, like I knew, like when, yeah, he put crying on command is like hard, like to have to.
He brought out the waterworks.
Look, I mean, I knew he wasn't going to retire. I knew that there was like a lot of rumors of them wanting him to feud with Langston going to SummerSlam or something. And I thought, well, maybe they'll give him, maybe they'll give him a little like a babyface run on the way out, and he'll put Langston over or whatever. Then maybe he'll go off. I was like, but there's no way he's retiring. I knew it was bullshit. I knew it was angle. But he did such a perfect job that I was like, man, okay, I guess I was stupid. I guess he's really gone.
And he made jokes. He's like, well, you might not remember this speech, but you'll definitely remember this suit.
It really felt like a retirement speech.
Yeah.
It was
such a great job.
Better actor than almost anybody on the roster. I don't know. He really sucked. I was like, no way. I knew he wasn't retiring.
Bunch of pups.
And then he just sucked me right in. I was like, fuck, I guess he's retiring. Shit. I was like so sure that he wasn't. And he just pulled me right in. But yeah, fucking perfect, man. Look, I'm excited. Look, everyone was all hyped about this, and I'm glad that more and more people are going to realize how awesome Mark Henry is. I'm glad, because I've been saying it for years. I have audio proof. Go back and listen to the podcast. I've been saying Mark Henry is awesome for years, and I'm glad people are now going to be appreciative of that. I am a little worried, however, though, that it's going to take away from his heel work with him doing something that people thought was so cool and recognized as being so awesome. People are going to be more prone to cheer him, because I thought he was one of the more pure heels that the Fed had, along with guys like Cesaro, like guys who really were real heels, and not guys who did the cool heel thing and had a lot of reasons for fans to cheer them. I think this is going to make people want to cheer him, which I think is going to be a little more... it's going to be like a hindrance on his heel work.
Well, you're going to have those people who like boo John Cena. Like, oh, he did that to John Cena, so I'm going to cheer.
I'm gonna completely disagree with you on this one, because I feel that he worked that crowd so well. They were getting emotional. They were chanting "Thank you." They trusted in this moment. This was a moment that they were sharing with Mark Henry, and he completely betrayed them, completely fooled them. I feel like that he's gonna get some of the loudest boos he's had in quite some time.
I certainly hope so. I just paying attention to, like, I mean, on commercial break, I'll fuck around on Facebook. Just paying attention to my feed, I saw people who I've said, "Hey, Henry's awesome." Who people were like, "Fuck Henry, I don't give a shit about Henry," and then like people were like, "Oh, that was the coolest thing ever. Mark Henry's fucking awesome." And I was like, "That's great. I'm glad now you think that way." But I think if so, I'm glad he changed your mind. Where have you been for the past years? Because he's been that awesome for years. But I kind of feel like more people are going to be prone to cheer him. I hope that you're right, though.
Yeah.
I didn't really pay attention to the crowd after that happened. I didn't really, listen to him. I was still in shock.
He got some cheers.
There were, I think the initial reaction was shock. Like, oh my God, we just bought it. Like, I can't believe this. So yeah, they had that, it's been a while since we had one of those feelings, and it was
perfectly done.
It was so good.
There wasn't a single aspect of that could have been like improved upon. It was perfect.
Just so good. Like even the moment when he brought up the titles, he's like, I've been ECW champion, world heavyweight champion, and then Cena hands him the belt, and he's like, look, man. No, I appreciate it, but this is something you have to earn. Like, even that, you're like, oh, dude, like he's going out, class acts, looking good, and it's just, oh God, I just can't say enough good things about that. This is
what he does.
This is it's moments like this that you're like, oh, this is why I love wrestling, because it's that storytelling. You're just like, nailed it, good stuff. Bravo, Mark Henry. I'm still gonna boo you, but bravo. So, because that's what I do. That's what we need to do. Good stuff. So, To calm the audience down, I guess, from that, we got to see Chris Jericho going up against Heath Slater for whatever reason.
You know what? I think we shouldn't hinder gender.
Okay.
Just saying it. There's a guy who had that sign pay-per-view. Just want to let people know.
Okay.
Don't hinder gender.
All right.
Mahal.
So yeah, Chris Jericho defeats Heath Slater, delivers a code breaker to Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, and Drew McIntyre. Next up, we got to see Curtis Axel going up against Sin Cara. This was, another. It was an okay match. Curtis Axel defeats Sin Cara, and that takes us into our main event of the night. We'll see CM Punk going up against Alberto Del Rio. This match ended up in a countout after Del Rio decided that he had enough of Doug's getting his laps in. You good?
Good.
All right. But yeah, so Del Rio decides to take the count out, but he is soon attacked by Dolph Ziggler to a huge ovation from the crowd, and chasing Del Rio off, going after him, leaving Punk in the ring. And then Lesnar's music hits. Brock Lesnar coming back to WWE, walks into the ring, grabs the microphone, drops Punk.
He wasn't talk to him.
So initial reaction, I mean, we already kind of talked about it. It feels a little bit rushed, but
yeah, but it was still cool. Like,
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm into it. I dig it. That's definitely a match. I think they're doing a lot of interesting stuff that I'm like super excited about. Punk and Lesnar is something that interests me greatly. I think babyface Ziggler and heel Del Rio is a feud that I can get into. Like I said that I think it plays to their strengths a lot. What I meant by that was Ziggler's, a guy who people like to watch bump, and a guy who people like to watch sell and look weak, and sometimes I question his offense, and that plays a lot into being a babyface. I think he's good at getting sympathy. He showed that last night or this past Sunday of the pay-per-view.
Did a great job at that.
Del Rio's great at focusing on a body part and being vicious and keeping on a guy, and all that plays into being a great heel, and he's really great at being a smug prick, and that's awesome too. And the only thing I'm a little worried about is he's got to dump AJ and Big E now. It has to immediately be over.
Yes,
they have to be gone if he has any chance of being a babyface. And the crowd wants to cheer him, and so they turned him. So let him cheer him, and that's great. And I think for people who are disappointed that he lost the belt, I will say that I think a babyface works better in the chase role. There's more sympathy there, so I think he'll get it back eventually,
especially if he falls short.
Right. But yeah, the Lesnar stuff I thought was foreshadowed heavily earlier in the night. Even Heyman did that thing where he's like, I'm not mad, He hugged him. He's like, I get it, I understand.
I love you.
But a lot of people, you don't have to be surprised. It just has to be executed well. And I thought it was executed well enough for that to be interested in. I'm super interested. I'm really intrigued and interested in Mark Henry Cena matchup. I know a lot of people probably don't feel that way, but I think that's a matchup to get excited about. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So Brian,
top of his game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good stuff going on. Whoever that chick was that thought we were negative or not impressed all the time, I hope she's listening to this show, because I think we're kind of across the board. Great job.
There were a lot of good things to talk about this week, and I felt like they've done a very good job. There's talks that the creative team were put on notice or something like that, so maybe they're finally deciding to step up their game.
Give us something good or pack your bag.
Pretty much. So,
something good.
So like we said, Rob Van Dam's going to be returning at Money in the Banks. Limited schedule, but it'll still be nice. Still be nice to see him.
No interest whatsoever. I think he's totally irrelevant at this point.
Wonder what they're gonna bring him back to do. Is he gonna be in a Money in the Bank match?
He needs to be putting dudes over.
Do what?
Hopefully they're using him putting dudes over.
Yeah, they'll probably have him come in with a strong start and then help get over some.
He's gonna get one of the briefcases.
Okay.
I hope not. I honestly have no desire to see that. You want RVD to come in with a strong run?
No.
Well, I mean, he's obviously going to be a crowd favorite, so they're going to book him pretty strong.
Yeah, initially,
bit.
but
yeah.
I mean,
And then he'll fade back down and, help some of the younger guys. Yeah. And I think that's what he needs to do. And then he'll go on and be later inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame or whatever they got planned. So, who knows? But now it's something we think you will all enjoy.
You're listening to a special interview segment for the official podcast for WrestlingNewsSource.com.
Okay, folks, joining us on the show at this time, it is an absolute honor to announce 3-time WWE champion, WWE Hall of Fame class of 2013 inductee, multi-time New York Times best-selling author, hardcore legend, stand-up comedian, activist, father, husband. You know him as Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mankind, Santa, and Mrs. Foley's baby boy, the one, the only, Mick Foley. Mr. Foley, welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thank you for having me on. I know you pursued me when I forgot that I'd made a commitment to doing the show, so I appreciate you tracking me down. I know it wasn't easy.
Oh, it's a busy man such as yourself, hard to find, but nothing we can't do for the love of our fans.
Actually, you guys actually showed me visual proof that I committed to this. I was like, I don't remember this at all, and then I see a photo of me going, yeah, sounds good, let's do it. So let's do it.
All right. Well, you've recently joined a Kickstarter project to get the documentary "I Am Santa Claus" up and running, where we follow the lives of 6 real bearded professional Santas for a full year to find out what their lives are like outside of having to portray the Jolly Saint Nick. And the documentary is planned to be submitted to film festivals next year. You're being featured as one of the Santas. How were you approached to doing this project?
It's funny. I actually got a text message from Tommy Dreamer, who told me about this director named Tommy Avalone, who's doing this Santa Claus project. And that Tommy Avalone has made, I think, 4 films, and he's made it a point to put a wrestler in every one of them. Nice. So Dreamer was actually, I believe, in his movie Mancation. And so they contacted me. They found out I was a big, Santa Claus fanatic. And to tell you the truth, when they first said they wanted to follow me and see my transformation to Santa, I wasn't completely sold, because I had always I'd always been fairly content to just put the red suit on, have the hat on once in a while. I always showed up as Santa Mick. No one was ever supposed to be under the impression that I was anyone but me with a red suit on. And even when I did the Santa versus Santa match in Afghanistan for the troops, and went out in Iraq, it was clearly just one of the guys with a big suit and beard on. And then you find out that these guys who portray, or I more accurately say they feel like they become Santa Claus, where they don't feel like it reminds me so much of wrestling, in that when things are really going well, you don't feel like you're playing a character. You feel like you are that character. And so many of these guys, they don't see it as as a suit they put on and an act they play. They see it as this sacred role. That they have this important, mythical, iconic figure that they put their own stamp on. And it's very competitive, and the lives of the Santas, are not always full of joy after the holidays. So for me, once I learned more about it, it became almost like beyond the mat without the blood.
Very nice. And you can find all the information at realmickfoley.com or kickstarter.com. You can also search I Am Santa Claus with Mick Foley. You can Google that. And anyone...
Wait, hold on. Let me hold you there. Make it IamSantaClausMovie.com.
Okay.
I just did the Daily Show, and they gave us a great plug, and they got the website wrong, because I Am Santa Claus is taken by somebody. So it's IamSantaClausMovie.com, and there's some great... If you go to the home post, you get the the main Kickstarter commercial. Mm-hmm. But I guess one of the ways you keep people engaged is by constantly giving updates. So if people go to the updates, they can see, for example, Santa Claus heckling me at a comedy show, provoking Tommy Dreamer to come to the rescue to make peace between me and Santa. So there's a lot of fun things for everybody. And honestly, if you guys remember going back to Tribute to the Troops and the Christmas Eve episode of Raw, I clearly did end up taking my transformation to Santa Claus pretty seriously, and that will be part of the movie as well.
Very nice. In fact, anyone who backs the project, there's some really nice incentive programs to get in there. For example, you can get an autographed Mick Foley 8x10. You'll get the DVD, an official Cactus Jack Wanted Dead or Alive T-shirt, not the knockoffs. There's possible voicemails, Twitter followers, even a rare autograph photo signed by Chris Jericho, yourself, and CM Punk.
Yeah, I know. First off, funding this movie is in levels of importance is not going to be up there with feeding hungry children or preventing sexual violence. Things that I've been involved with in the past. But it's a good project, and it's a fun project. And if someone in a tough economy has a little bit of extra money to spend, there are some really cool things. For example, the $200 incentive with the 11 by 17 is like, it takes on a whole new proportion. It makes the 8x10 just look downright cheesy. And that came about because I had this classic photo of me dropping the elbow on Jericho at the WWE Hall of Fame with Punk kind of standing there observing. And I just happened to ask Jericho if he would mind signing like up to 50 of them. And he said, sure. And then Punk, Punk every once in a while send me a text just to see what I'm up to. And I hate to bother people. I really do. But I was like, hey, you think you'd mind doing this? And all of a sudden we had like a genuine collector's edition on our hands. So in that case, and I think there's only about 10 of the 50 left. So if people want this, they can jump on it. But to give you an idea of, like kind of the hopefully imagination we put into putting these things together, you get the You get that 11 by 17 signed by the three of us, making it pretty cool. You get a 60-second voice message of your choosing, a 60-second video message, and I'm willing to do it as either Dude Love or Mankind. I can't do Cactus Jack because that's kind of a heavy thing. I just can't sit there when it's time to reel off these things and do Cactus Jack 50 times without ending up in some type of psychological ward. So I'll do Mankind, I'll do Dude, I'll do Mick Foley. And then you get the 11 by 17, you get the Wanted Dead or Alive shirt that people seem to know and love, the Wanted Naughty or Nice shirt, and the Twitter follow for a year, and the peace of mind of knowing that you're helping fund a really cool project.
Definitely. And you've done, tons of charity work with companies like Make-A-Wish, Child Fund International, and RAIN. Are there any other charity promotional work that you're going on with at the moment?
Well, following this Kickstarter, we're going to be doing our RAIN raffle for SummerSlam. And so, like I said, this Kickstarter, as important as it is not quite is not quite as important as raising money for survivors of sexual violence. So if they had to pick or choose, to say, hold on to the $10 or $20 and help us out with that one. But when I did it a year and a half ago for WrestleMania, one of the problems we had was that the grand prize seemed almost too good to be true. Like, I don't think people thought that it was possible to get as many things as we had going to our winner. And then the winner wrote this unbelievable blog, and it kept his catchphrase was, "And just when you thought it couldn't get better, it did." So, I mean, you literally got in this case, it was 2 tickets to WrestleMania. We're trying to make it 4 for SummerSlam. I don't know if we can open up to anyone around the world, but anyone who's got a passport who can get their visa done on time can enter this thing, and it'll be, I think, 4 tickets to SummerSlam, 4 nights in a 4-star hotel, I think a couple $1,000s of spending money. You get the tickets to the Access, you get tickets to my show that night, the post-SummerSlam show at at the Improv in Hollywood, and you'll get a dinner, a lunch with the divas, hang out with one or two of the wrestlers. So it's going to be a massive thing, and it doesn't cost anyone more than $10 to enter. Of course, the more you enter, the better your chances are of winning. But last year we raised $60,000 for Rain, and I think if WWE gets behind this, which I hope they will, that we can hit the $100,000 mark for this SummerSlam raffle.
Absolutely. Very good stuff.
So in other words, yes, I will be asking people for 2 straight months to give me money, and then I promise I'll take a break after that. That's when I'm not asking them to come to my spoken word shows.
Very nice. And speaking of your spoken word shows, not too long ago you began doing these. Some call it stand-up, some call it spoken words. You've even gone on tour with your Tales from Wrestling Past tour. You're actually getting ready for some upcoming shows. You're going to be in Newport, Kentucky on June 20th, June 22nd, Fairhaven. July 10th in Philadelphia. You can always go to realmickfoley.com/events for that type of information. And you've been getting some pretty positive feedback from it. How all did that get started with you getting up in front of a crowd with a live mic like that? And did you expect to have the success you've gotten from it?
Well, it's been a long time coming. The transition was from talking to colleges where you never really had to have like a set, a talk could be anything you want it to be, but I gravitated towards some of the funny stories. When I did have a chance to start doing stand-up, I never should have called it stand-up. I should have come up with some cool hybrid name the way that WWE did with sports entertainment, because I think for a few years the idea of coming to see me do stand-up was a turnoff to people. So I think now word has gotten around that, hey, wait a second, these are wrestling stories. This is like, this is like a natural extension of a wrestling fan's love for wrestling, not some vast, wild departure. And, word's getting around that the shows are really good. And I think part of the reason is I accepted that, there was nothing wrong with telling wrestling stories, especially when I can make them fun on a nightly basis, like the infamous cookie story with DDP. We find new ways to change it up and make it new. And the second thing was I learned there's nothing wrong with actually working on stories and making them better and better instead of thinking that you had to give each audience a new hour. Because that maybe the 2 or 3 people who go to different shows will go, oh, he totally did the same show. But what I've learned is that really good comics will work on their set for months and get it perfect. Then they'll do their special, whether it's Comedy Central, HBO, or whatever, and then never do that material again. So, I've the past few months I've really been working on getting some stories down. I varied a little bit from city to city. The Q&A always gives me a chance to make each show unique. But when you have something good, you don't discard it. You think of how you can make it even better.
Very cool.
Oh, have any other comics sat in on one of your shows or anything?
Yeah. The comics who come to my shows. There've been some cynical people, and sometimes cynical because there have been crossovers in the past who just use their set as a way to get to their merchandise table, who seem to be going through the motions and don't really respect the craft. Kind of like when someone comes into WWE, and some celebrities are great and couldn't be more respectful, and some of them just kind of look down on what we do. And, our guys know the difference right away. And so comics see that I really, even though I don't call what I do stand-up, they see that I love it, and that I'm interested in becoming better every night. And so I get lots of, top-notch comics who will come and they'll see some of see some of what I do, and they're very impressed with it, and and they believe I'm on the right track, where instead of trying to compete with guys who've been doing, stand-up for 20, 25 years by doing musings on everyday life and jokes and things like that, that I've got a unique gift in that I have cool stories to tell, and I'm a pretty good storyteller.
That's cool.
Very nice.
Thank you. And I'm coming. There's all kinds of cities. I mean, the nice thing is you can really just construct a show with a single phone call in a way you cannot do with a wrestling show. You can't call up a venue and go, "Hey, can we have a show on June 22nd?" because my guy is there. Because doing a wrestling show requires sometimes dozens of tickets, hotel reservations, ring crew, all those things. With this, it's really a very pure form of comedy. You just show up, you have a microphone, and you're either good or you're not. And no matter how much someone likes you, if you're not good after about 5 minutes, they get tired of the courtesy clap after a while.
Aside from your recent encounter with Santa, have you dealt with any other hecklers?
I don't really get hecklers. What I get is like the enthusiastic fan who's had a little bit too much to drink, who will yell out the story to a tale from wrestling past. So like, congratulations. It's almost like they want me to think they're cool because I read the book. And so you get that once in a while, but like when I was in the UK, I did 23 dates, and my primary concern was that I wanted the energy level to be as high as it could be when I got out there. And so we really had to combat the pre-show meet and greets, where we meet 600 people and then expect them to be as fired up after they've already sat there and watched you for 3 hours. Like, could you imagine? John Cena making his entrance from Mania, and people were like, "Yeah, we just saw him sitting at a table for 3 hours. Now we're supposed to get excited about his arrival." So, part of making the shows better is realizing like I had to say so, that I didn't have to. Just because a club wanted 4 comics on before me doesn't mean that I have to have 4 comics on before me. If I think I work best with a host and one guy, that's great. I've been bringing Jennifer Bloodsworth around with me, who is a WWE writer for 5 years, a female writer for 5 years. Obviously, she's got some cool stories to tell. And she's been my DDP stand-in and doing an amazing job on the Cookie story on a nightly basis.
What's your thought on guys who are trying to bring stuff from the comedy world into wrestling? Your guys like Colt Cabana and stuff like that. We always hear the old saying that funny doesn't equal money and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts on bringing that side back to the wrestling world?
Yeah, I wrote an article for Fighting Spirit magazine, and I called it "Funny Isn't Money, Except When It Is." And I pointed out how almost every top draw of the past generation has used humor to create a bond with the audience, and that in humor, one of the keys is to build tension and then relieve it. And in wrestling, it's sometimes the exact opposite. You have your humor, and then you put guys who become endearing to fans, partially because of their humor. You put them in dire situations when the humor gets put away. And things get serious. But like The Rock, obviously, was a big proponent of humor. Stone Cold was very funny in the ring. I'd say you point to every top star of the, and generally they have some kind of humor in their repertoire. And then when they're put in peril, they need to set that aside. But Colt, to me, is a great comic wrestler who can turn it on when he wants to, and he can make a situation serious. So I disagree with the funny isn't money people, because I think if they're still sticking to that decades-old slogan, they haven't been watching the product in the last 10 or 15 years.
Very cool. going into a little bit of your wrestling career, you were known as Cactus Jack, Mankind, Dude Love. But when it came to cutting promos as Cactus Jack or Mankind, your voice would normally start in a soft, sort of higher pitched voice and then transform into, some sort of almost a maniacal scream. What was the catalyst for that? What was the thought process?
Oh, man, it was just so much time spent thinking about these promos, so that when I had a chance to do them, they were, they just kind of they took on that life of their own. Sometimes I thought I did too much yelling. Sometimes I look at Punk and say, man, I should have kept a lower keel throughout most of my promos. And sometimes I look at ones that people think were very good, and I thought they're a little over the top. And I just recently did a Daily Show appearance where I cut a promo on Zeb Coulter, and it's kind of like a parody of those promos you talked about, where I'm yelling, but I'm actually making very valid political points. So that
Nice.
the joke is, host John Oliver had to mention that the discussion between Cole and JBL at the table was actually like a better, more reasoned discussion of immigration reform than Congress had been having. So the joke is that the wrestler's out there, yelling and screaming, but he's making some very valid points on immigration reform. And I think it's something that WWE will see the wisdom in turning that into into furthering a storyline. It would shock me if they don't.
Do you think there's anything that crosses the line that shouldn't be allowed, like in pro wrestling? Is there something just too far out there that you don't think wrestling should touch it?
Oh, I think you can find humor in any subject. It just depends on how that subject is approached. My example of that would be, Adolf Hitler is. I don't even think there's an argument that he's the worst guy who ever lived. I was going to say he's arguably the worst guy. He's probably the worst. He's probably got that lock on there, and yet people have been able to find humor in Hitler from the producers singing "Springtime" for Hitler in Germany to the takeoffs where Hitler learns that LeBron James and the Heat have lost in the NBA Finals, and there's a much more, I think, poorly done one where Hitler finds out that Miz has won the WWE Championship. So if you can find humor in the worst person in the world, you can't say there's a line that shouldn't be crossed. It's how that line is crossed. So any subject can be used. It's whether or not it should be used, and often the answer would be no. But I don't think anything is off limits. It's just dependent on how it's portrayed. You guys have an example?
I just like the more political stuff recently. The Jerry Lawler stuff, them turning that kind of stuff into an angle. Do you think is there anything out there that you just think is too far, like that shouldn't?
Well, I think that this stuff with Zeb Coulter has turned out to be very thought-provoking stuff, and he does his homework, and he provides enough of a legitimate point of view that you can't, that it's not. It's like I said, I said about the Daily Show. They're like, hey, they're giving them more reasoned, thought than Congress has. So I know people right away said, oh, you can't be, that's been poor taste. And making fun of Jerry Lawler's heart attack in poor taste. It's like, look, I'm pretty sure, and I know I'm quoting my own TNA promo, I'm pretty sure, tuning on USA and seeing a show called Big Guys Getting Along, Making Reasonable reasonable arguments is not going to get ratings. There's only so many ways you can find to get people inside the ring to settle their differences, and any subject is open. Again, it's just how it's handled.
Very cool. You're most synonymous with the big falls, big hits, taking a lot of damage to your body. What are your thoughts on like the safety precautions that the WWE has taken in the past few years to sort of protect the wrestlers, like the no chair shots to the head, the time off for concussions now?
Oh, I think those are great. Those are all great moves. One thing I've said when I go out to do my shows is I try to use just one F-bomb a night, and I try to make it count. And I talk about sometimes how the F-bomb for a performer on stage is like a chair shot in wrestling. Like it can be used effectively when used sparingly, but it's usually just a way of getting a cheap pop. Like especially in the old ECW days, you'd have your guys in the beginning of the card, and it's like, okay, what do I do? I need a pop, chair to the head. And then it becomes a matter of who takes the hardest chair to the head and who doesn't put up their hand. And, that envelope was really pushed as far as it possibly could be. And so I think that the precautions are great. I don't think the product has suffered at all because of the loss of chair shots to the head. I think giving guys time off after concussions is the smartest thing in the world. Convincing guys that there's not only no shame in admitting you're hurt, but that it sometimes takes more courage to admit when you're hurt than pretending you're not is a great move. And so I'm a big advocate of all the safety moves that they've made. If I had recognized concussion signs, symptoms when I had them, and if I'd known how dangerous concussions were, especially as you got older, I would have saved myself a lot of, I would have had a much better quality of life the last few years. So I'm glad these guys, I like it. Anyone who complains about it on Twitter or whatnot, I can see someone liking the Attitude Era for the characters, and if they like the more mature storylines, that's fine. But if they really want to go back to the days where guys are taking unprotected chair shots, I'd say their respect for for life is not a high priority for them.
It's almost like the other side of that coin is like a somewhat like recent trend of people like almost being resentful of that style of wrestling from the past. And as someone who, is like Daniel said, almost like synonymous with those type of things, have you ever been like offended at someone's kind of like backlash to that?
I haven't really felt the backlash. What do you mean? Like, do I feel like when I walk through the hallway at the current WWE shows that people whisper about me when I leave and say that I took shortcuts? And is that what you're insinuating?
No, sir. I mean, not like that. Just like, I mean, even with I'm sorry?
Do you think, what are you wondering, the flip side, if guys from my era look down on the guys from the current era who don't do those things?
Well, no, there's almost like, it seemed like a somewhat recent like current of guys saying that like, things were taken too far, and people, perhaps some younger wrestlers these days may feel like they would have to do something to get to a certain like that crazy to get to a certain level, almost in a negative like way. I mean, have you ever like? I guess you said you felt that kind of backlash, but I was just wondering if there was ever any offense like taken to that sort of thing. Like you spoke about how now you realize how concussions are signs of like how to see that stuff coming, but almost. I'm sorry. I'm wording this really poorly.
There's a famous scene in the movie Patton where George Patton actually ends up slapping around or at least verbally berating a guy who's not physically injured but is in the hospital for what they called shell shock at the time. And clearly, the way that General George C. Patton handles the what we call now post-traumatic stress disorder is not the way it would be handled now. So we've learned a lot. Remember, the first president of the United States, George Washington, died because he was leeched. He was bled to death as a way of healing him. So we've come a long way in terms of. You might want to check your history books. I can't remember if it was leeching or the bloodletting, where the idea was to drain the bad blood so good blood can take over. And our first president died that way. So we've come a long way in medicine. And I hate to like not even enter my name into the list of greatest ex-wrestlers. But I think the work that Chris Nowinski has done with the National Center for Traumatic Encephalopathy is really, helping lives and probably saving lives. And I think you won't see wrestlers suffering from depression and the other side effects of repetitive traumatic episodes to the head. But I don't feel that. I don't think anyone resents me for what I did, and all along I never resented anybody who got an NXT contract or anything along those lines. The world keeps evolving.
Very cool. And there are a lot of dark sides in wrestling. You've pretty obvious with the injuries you've sustained. There's a lot of people who get addicted to painkillers or other forms of drugs. Sometimes it occurs with death. The tragic death of Reed Flair. It's just a tragedy as far as what happened. But I have to ask you, how would you react if your children asked to become a professional wrestler? Would you sort of guide them, or would you try and steer them away?
Well, I would try to steer them away, but I would also understand that the surest way to make sure that someone does something is to tell them they can't. That's the worst thing you can do, and it's stunning the amount of second generation wrestlers are out there. So clearly, the wrestling has its drawbacks. It's something that. In most cases, guys see it as the best time of their life, and so the best thing you do as a parent is get your children from schooling, make sure they know that this is the business doesn't owe anybody a living. They need to have something to fall back on. They need to watch out for their safety and the safety of others. So a lot of concerns. But if one of my kids really wanted to do it, I would insist that they go to school and have something to fall back on. But I wouldn't tell them they couldn't do it. I would tell them they couldn't do some of the things that I did in the ring. And if I find out they're working for a promotion, that has explosives, and if I find out that any of my kids is being mentored by Terry Funk, then I'll have a problem. But other than that, I think it'd be okay.
Could you take us through the moment that you found out you were going into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I actually thought I was being summoned into Triple H's office at Madison Square Garden to be let go from the company, and then then he said, "We'd like to know how you would feel about being inducted into the Hall of Fame." Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I said, "Sure." So that meeting worked out better than I thought it was going to. And it turned out, that I really, after I did let the rumor that Donald Trump's speech was going to be aired at the expense of mine get to me for a couple of days, I then realized, hey, it's Madison Square Garden. It really, up until those few days, it really didn't matter to me whether I'm on first or last. And the fact that I went on first doesn't make the night any less meaningful to me. Really, it was a great night, and I'm flattered to have been picked. And I don't know if anyone else could have that. I'm sure there will be someone else who ends up being inducted in the same arena that meant so much to them. So it was a great night.
Very cool. And it's certainly been a pleasure having you on. For all of your information, you can follow you at Twitter at Real Mick Foley. You can go to realmickfoley.com, even facebook.com, Real Mick Foley. I can't say it enough. It has been an absolute honor to have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate it. As you can tell, I keep it real in social media.
Absolutely.
And thanks. Check out one of those shows. If you go to realmickfoley.com events, the shows are much better than you would. I mean, people walk away and they are, almost they're joyous because they have a very good time. And I hope someone takes a look at the schedule, checks it out, thinks about funding I Am Santa Claus. They can go to at I Am Santa Movie or IamSantaClausMovie.com. And don't forget, we got the rain raffle coming up. So no shortage of ways to reach out and show me you care.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Like I said, it's an absolute honor to get to talk to you. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foley.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Very awesome to have the hardcore legend, Mick Foley, on our show.
So cool.
Very nice for him to take some time out of his day to be on our show. And now it's time to go into the Q&A portion of the show. Your questions, our answers. First question coming to us from Thomas. Drop it low, son.
Drop it low, son. Drop it low, son.
Saying, with the surge of superhero films such as Iron Man, Man of Steel, and the Dark Knight trilogy, I ask, what superpower would you have, and what would you use it for? Bearing in mind, you don't have to use it for the benefit of others.
Yeah. I'd probably use mine really self-servingly. I probably either want, I don't know. I say that I would hope that I would, with great power comes great responsibility. I hope that would sink in with me, but I would probably use them really self-servingly. I'd probably want something like super speed, so I could do my job really fast and then just get to lay around and do what I want to do, or get all the shit that I need done, or, something like that. I think it's probably top of my list. I've always kind of been like Luke Cage has impenetrable skin, so I always thought that was super cool. He can't be shot or stabbed, and I was like, well, you don't have a whole lot to worry about if you can't be physically harmed that way. I guess you could always fall prey to sickness or something like that.
Yeah.
He's resistant to temperature and stuff, so that's pretty cool too. That's probably
an MMA
up there.
fighter and dominate.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably up there high. I'd probably go with super speed though.
All right, how about you, Tyler?
I've always been fond of Bobby Drake, Iceman from X-Men. I've always I don't know, I was always cool to shoot stuff like ice or turn water into ice and stuff like that. I guess I have no reason or what can I use it for, but I don't know. I just always thought it was cool.
Well, if there's ever a party or something, it's like, hey,
give me a drink.
We need some ice or something. Tyler.
Oh, I'm that guy. I'm gonna give you ice now.
Tyler, you're the ice guy. Come on.
Freeze your balls.
Ice dick.
Teisler. So I would love to be able to fly. I think that would be really cool.
No, thank you. I'm afraid of heights.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to get that high, but
Well, maybe if I could fly, it would do away with my fear of flights.
I think Daniel wants to be in Chronicle.
Maybe, but I'd like to fly just so it would save so much gas.
Why don't you just teleport?
Well, I mean, you could do that too, but you don't know where you're going to teleport, and you could teleport into a wall or in someone else. Or
think about it.
No.
Do Dragon Ball Z. Do this.
Instant transmission.
Yeah.
No. Fly. I'd much rather fly.
Ooh, telekinesis. That's got to be up there.
That'd be cool too. So, but thank you for the question, Thomas. Next question coming to us from Andrew, aka Wife Swap.
Wife Swap. Give me that wife. Dude, it's so late. I'm tired. I don't know what's going on.
Give me that wife.
The question is mainly for Daniel, but open to others. What is your favorite song on the new Daft Punk album? There are a lot of strong songs. Get Lucky is obviously the strongest, or the most popular on the album. You good?
Get lucky.
Yeah, they are getting lucky. Hang on, I gotta pull it up because I can never remember the title of songs. And
I like that one.
Yeah, totally. That one.
Yes.
That one that they do. You like that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Fragments of Time. That's definitely one of my favorite ones. Giorgio by Morder. That's a great one as well. Lose Yourself to Dance. I get stuck singing that one over and over again. There are a lot of good songs on there. A few I felt they could have, done a little bit better, but that's just my humble opinion. Either of you guys new Daft Punk album?
I don't know the names. I mean, we listened to all of them when we were going to ROW. But if you're listening, anyone out there, my birthday is July 1st. If you want to give me that album for my birthday, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I already got you a present, motherfucker.
I know, but I'm talking about the people who are listening.
He's trying to get presents from our listeners.
Oh, I didn't even do that.
Neither did I. See, he's smart. He's smarter than he lets on. We're just saying.
Yeah.
I'm a champ.
Okay, so thanks for the question. Final question coming to us from Nathan saying, just finished the last episode on Stitcher, another great podcast, and super glad Stitcher works better than YouTube.
Hey, if you figure out how to rate us or give us a thumbs up or 5 stars or whatever the fuck Stitcher does, Nathan, help us out, brother.
Definitely. We'd appreciate
that. And
that.
then once you figure out how they rate shows on Stitcher, tell us so we'll know what we're looking for.
Yeah, let us know what to look for. But he says, figured I'd ask a question for your question segment. Do you guys partake in the toy side of wrestling? Meaning, do you have little collections of wrestling figures? And if so, what are your thoughts about them? Do you like the Elite? Do you miss Jack Specific? How long have you collected? And I think, this one's definitely in Tyler's category.
I have a shitload of action figures.
There you go.
I've been collecting for a long time. This probably won't sound long, but I guess past 5 to 6 years.
That's cool.
I guess the last few years, like a year and a half, I haven't collected.
You've been slacking.
Yeah, I've been slacking. But no, I've got, and I don't, remember the brands on top of my head. There's the old stuff, like the rubber figures and stuff like that. And I have some of that in the package. What else?
You got some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I got TNA figures, not the ones that they have these days. I forgot who made them, but they're not bulky, they're not big and super muscles and stuff. And it's gonna kill me not to think of the brands.
Don't beat yourself
Marvel
up.
Toys made, I think some of those TNA figures and stuff. The ones I have, because I don't have any of the new ones.
Yeah.
The TNA figures, I don't. If you listen to the beginning podcasts, I talk about this figure I got that was not made right. The figure was of Samoa Joe, and the little
packaging.
Yeah, the packaging in the front said it was Raven, and the back said it was Ron the Truth Killings. So that was pretty neat. But let's see what else I got. I got newer figures and stuff. They're all in boxes in my closet because I got just so many stuff. So much stuff. Shoot. I think the recent wrestling figure I got was probably Daniel Bryan's first wrestling figure. But for WWE. But no, man, I got titles or the little rinky dink titles I bought. What's the other stuff? Man, I got tons of stuff. I'm gonna take pictures and show people.
Very cool. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, I'm into the action figures as well. But I kind of collect in spurts, and I kind of there's no I'm a completist asshole. I want to buy everything, but I just don't have the room for it. So I kind of right now, probably the last 10 or so I bought have all been all the Daniel Bryans have come out, in the twin packs and all those. I got, I do prefer the Elite stuff to the Jack Specific, the old school ones. Yeah, so I would love to be able to collect, but I have limited space, and so I pretty much only go for guys I'm super interested in. I got the Cesaro one, his first, and I got
nice.
I got all the Daniel Bryans except for the one that comes in the Night of Champions pack that has Kane and Cena and Ziggler and Bryan. I don't have that one because it's $80 and it's Toys R Us exclusive, which I saw online. I could have picked it up, but I didn't. So I need that one, and then I need whatever the newest like Brian one that's dropping this summer. I don't have that one yet. It's up for pre-order, but I don't think it's out yet. But I got all the other Brians. So I kind of collect in spurts and in theme with dudes I like. I'd love to be able to collect everyone. I just don't have the space to put them all. It's not like collecting DVDs where I can rack them all. You need space for that shit.
Also, I was remembering this. What was, I can't think of the names. Maybe you'll help me. What's the ones with they're in a big box. They're kind of like a statue, sort of.
Yeah, they're it's not the
something Fury, huh?
It's Unleashed Fury, isn't it?
Unleashed Fury.
Is it Unleashed Fury?
Crud. I'm not for sure. They're not like an action figure. It's like a statue.
They're they're taller than like the 6-inch or whatever the fuck the standard size is.
I tried to collect all of them, but then I got to a point I think I got like all of Series 2, 3, and 4.
They're the black box ones, and the writing's in red. It's something Fury, Unmatched or Unleashed Fury.
Yeah, I never got to finish 1, or then I think they stopped at 7 or 8, but I have them on a shelf. So, and also one more thing I want to mention is I also bought from Doug some Dragon Gate figures.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going through some hard times and sucking dick for crack, and I'm just kidding. They were cool, but I had to get rid of them.
But yeah, I still collect though, and I'm always gonna collect. So,
and I do not.
Well, you got that one thing I got you, those little squirties, squishies.
Still have those. So, but yeah, so there you go. Hope that answers your
I have
question.
those little, not the rumblers, but whatever the little smaller ones that they do for Star Wars and G.I. Joe and Marvel, whatever those style ones are. I got the Brian one. It comes in the 2-pack with Sheamus.
Nice. So there you go. Hope that answers your question. To submit your questions, head on over to our Facebook page, WNS Podcast, also our YouTube page, WNS Video. Don't forget to check us out on WrestlingNewsSource.com, WrestlingNewsSource.com on Facebook. You can also subscribe to our show on iTunes by searching Wrestling News Source Podcast.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, is at WNS Podcast, and for the main site, WN Source.
Yeah, check us out on Stitcher.
Stitcher!
Please, Nathan, let us know what that's all about, brother.
By searching Wrestling News Source Podcast. Big thank you once again to Mick Foley for being on the show.
The real Mick Foley.
Very awesome stuff. Go out and check out the Kickstarter program. And I guess that's about it. So for the podcast crew, I am Daniel Herron.
I am the podcast champion, Tyler
I am the podcast champions.
I'm Doug.
We'll catch you all next week.
Good night.